So I just had a light bulb because I would be remiss if we didn't talk about Jerry's situation too.
Yeah.
Jerry Lorenzo's situation. And if there's a connection there, just like the timing, the eerie timing of, Jerry and the Adidas relationship dissipating and then Steph and Under Armour dissipating, maybe there's a connection between Steph Curry and Jerry Lorenzo.
Yeah.
Just putting it out there.
Yeah, no, I mean, that would be dope, right? To be able to see something like that. The Jerry situation is also really interesting, how that kind of all sort of came to an end. I thought the shoes were dope that that he did. And I always would read the comments and everyone seemed to kind of be sort of mixed, about it. I love the simplicity of it. I loved his approach to it. And he was like, and this was his truth. This is what he believed in and like his style. And that's what you're doing, right? Like we're all artists and you're buying into that artist's vision. And that's exactly what that was. Now, from a business perspective and standpoint, I personally think like I would have loved to see in a world where like kind of what he did with Essentials, right? How he built Essentials. You have Fear of God, which is the top of the pyramid, and then he created Essentials, which originally was just FOG or FOG. Then, I think I watched the interview. He said he didn't like that, and then they sort of rebranded it as Essentials, which, has exploded and is everywhere. But that's the primary revenue driver, for it in PacSun and, all these places. And like, as a founder of a company, like I'm assuming like that revenue is kind of what allows him to be able to do all the other things that he does with, with Fear of God as like the pinnacle brand, right? At the top of the pyramid. I would have been very interested to see if he would approach footwear with Adidas the same way that he did Essentials, going into
it's probably what they wanted,
a value product, as opposed to like pinnacle product, right? And what that could have looked like. To me, that would have been really interesting to have seen, but it's never too late. And it sounds like he's learned a lot from that experience. I've probably met him like a handful of times. I've always liked him and his vision. And that's a brand that I aspire to be in many ways when I look at it from like a business like structure standpoint, and the way he was able to build sort of these two verticals with both of these brands, both kind of representing very different things, but still very much the same DNA that sort of joins them together.